This time I have a lot of work to do. I'll do everything I have time for. First of all, I will implement some of your ideas. I am very grateful for your feedback. Your comments allow me to see some problematic aspects of the game or ideas for new mechanics. The first thing in the queue for fixing is a serious problem with the behavior of some mechanics tied to the FPS value, which eventually slows down almost all systems. For example, slowing down the walking speed or tick rate. This is a common problem that can be fixed by changing the way some mechanics or animation logic is called on a per-frame basis. I did the same thing with the in-game tick system which I made earlier, so that it doesn't call the calculation every frame, but does it every fixed period of time. Now, everything works properly. I hope so. I was sent a video where the player gets stuck near the pilot's seat. This makes no sense at all, and I could not find what causes this behavior. My only guess is that the player's control lock is not working properly. I refactored this part of the code and made a button that unlocks the control just in case. It's a kind of unstuck function. In the future, I'll make a full-fledged console and move this feature there. So I don't know why I told you this at all. There are still gameplay bugs and optimization issues. The main thing is fixing physical objects, upgrading and refueling logic, and a bunch of other boring dog shit. Additionally, I changed some models, their location, textures, and interfaces, and made the main hall in one of the rooms where the game will start accessible to the player. Let's move on to the ideas you suggested. Let's take it one by one. Some of you had problems with the doors. First of all, I simply forgot to tell you the pin code. In this regard, I am creating a mechanism for changing the pin code and informing the player about the initial pin code through the station manager. I'm moving the manager to the main hall, by the way. It makes more sense to me. I'll also add opening and closing speeds for some doors, lockers, and so on, because after a while of playing the game, you get tired of waiting for them to open. The next idea is to use more expensive food several times. It really makes sense, and it's a very easy to implement. The only problem is that I don't know how to tell the player how much food is left in the package, so I made the packages open and you can see how much food is left inside. I also added a higher calorie value for all types of food, and a maximum satiety value for the player so that they don't need to eat so often. I also forgot to mention the last time about the battery power of your flashlight. In short, I added it so that there would be at least some sense in using the room lighting. All of this can be turned off or customized. I'll talk about it at the end of the video. Following suggestions are related to the difficulty and random events that occur during the game. To begin with, all events will now occur gradually. In the early stages of the game, literally nothing will happen. Then more and more events will gradually take place with more and more noticeable consequences. I've divided everything into 3 categories, from harmless to scary death events of the hell devil of hopeless despair. No event can be repeated several times, except for those related to the presence of other creatures on your ship, speaking of creatures. And this is now its technical name, by the way. The last pretty cool idea that I will definitely implement is that the monster will appear during one of the tasks where the player will need to leave their ship. I'll come back to this later because it requires the implementation of tasks. As for the planets and landing on them, to be honest, I have no idea how to implement it so that I don't spend extra months and it looks somewhat natural. So far, I don't plan to implement this, except to add planets to the background. I'd also like to talk about a rather important thing I added, namely an autopilot that will undock and dock for you. This refers to the problem that you spend 70% of the game controlling your ship. Now, if you calculate the coordinates correctly and turn off the stabilizer, you can fly to any object and the autopilot will stop the ship if you get close enough to it. This way you can go about your business while the ship flies in the right direction. It does not react to objects that cannot be docked, so you need to be careful not to miss them. I completely removed these stupid-ass crack tasks with the search for unknown signals. I will definitely implement other suggestions that I liked and that are suitable for the game in the future. Just let me know if you have any interesting ideas. Now let's move on to the new features. As usual, I start with the models. As I said in the last video, I will be working on the tasks and story development of the pilot, that is you. I have already written a little bit of the plot of some tasks in the prologue, as well as the general lore of the game. In any case, I'll need a lot of new models, including new ships and stations. I don't know why I didn't think of it before, but I decided to make the station model in modules instead of as a whole. This speeds up the process several times, and now I can build as many stations as I want using ready-made parts. Of course, I try to use the same parts as little as possible. Now, for the sake of consistency, let me talk about the prologue first. So the idea is that the player wakes up in a cryo capsule. I don't know if this is often used in games and if it's a cliched beginning, but it's the first thing that came to my mind. Here I needed to show the controls somehow, so I decided to embed a panel in the capsule door instead of making an ordinary pop-up. After you press the OK button, you will be released. On the table is a pilot's gear that you have to put on. The helmet has a built-in player interface, and the chest plate will allow you to live longer in extreme conditions. The idea is that the helmet has a built-in beacon that the motion sensors on the door react to, so now you can leave the room. For now, the upgrade room is locked so as not to dump a bunch of new mechanics on a new player. And when you talk to the station manager, he will be able to give you a chip with a tutorial which you can insert into the decryption table and download to learn about the basic mechanics of the game and how to survive and complete tasks. Some of this tutorial will be familiar to those who have already tried the game, as I took some of the tasks from there. The new thing here is that some parts may break now. You'll need to use repair kit to fix that. Well, now you are a full-fledged faction pilot. Your task is to control the situation within the zone assigned to you. By the way, the main reason why the color of the stations has changed to purple is that the faction of this color fits here more according to the logic of the lore. I used the factions from my last game as a basis, so I had to synchronize it. In case anyone is wondering, Bit Galaxy and Isolated and Hail are supposed to take place in the same world, with the events of the current game happening first. We have a prologue. What to do now? I don't want to limit the player so the world is open to you. You can skip the tasks and just try to fly to complete the game. The bot will tell you about the main goal, however you are unlikely to have enough fuel, oxygen, or battery power to do so. Because of this, you will still need to take on tasks. You don't have to complete all of them either. Each of them will make it easier and even possible for you to reach the final goal for this update. For each task, you will receive coins that you can spend on improving the ship and on consumables such as food, first aid kits, repair kits, all kinds of props, and so on. To buy various items, I added another vending machine, access to the room with the upgrade station, and the shop opens after the first task. Each completed task will give your ship a unique upgrade that cannot be bought at the upgrade station. These unique upgrades are directly related to the task you have completed. Now let me finally tell you about the essence of some tasks that I managed to add and create models for. The first example is the task where you have to leave your own ship. It will be given at the very beginning. Everything is simple here. You need to collect information about a ship that was recently destroyed for an unknown reason. In the room with the cryo capsules, you may have noticed that one of them has no vital signs. When you arrive at the location specified in the mission, you will be able to find the helmet. You will also find a completely destroyed ship that looks quite similar to your own. Make your own conclusions. You have been given a tablet with a form to fill out. Enter the ship's identification number, the number of injured or dead, and the probable cause of the disaster. The cause is generated randomly. It can be a fuel leak, a faulty oxygen generator or climate controller, a broken pilot panel, or a thrust controller. When you return to your ship, you may notice a slight movement in your window as well as the lights off and the door closed. Nevertheless, you return home safely and keep the spacesuit you were given at the beginning of the mission as a reward. If you have correctly indicated everything in the crash report, you will receive an additional reward and a statuette in the form of a faction emblem and a new poster. After investigating the wreckage, you can take up to 3 tasks. Despite the fact that I said in the last video that only 3 tasks would be available to choose from, I decided to remove this restriction temporarily, because they are quite similar in terms of difficulty and their count is not that big. After completing each one, more and more strange things will happen to you. So far, there are 5 random tasks available. The first one is called Special Delivery, where you will need to find the required crate in an array of abandoned locked crates using the provided code. As soon as you move on with the right crate, it will start emitting smoke. You need to add oxygen concentration and make sure that all the ventilation systems are working properly. Otherwise, your character will start to suffocate. Upon successful delivery, you will receive money and an improved ventilation system that will break down less and distribute oxygen and temperature faster within the ship. Another task is called Forbidden Knowledge, in which you need to arrive at the observing station and get to the room with the servers to download the observation data. The problem is to get to the right room because some doors are encrypted or locked with the code that you will need to learn. After uploading the data to the onboard computer, your ship is attacked with a virus that disables the pilot panel. In case of successful delivery and transmission of data to the main station, the locations of secret stashes with some resources and unique items will appear in your map. The task called Ecologist Duty requires you to deliver a unique type of flower to an oxygen production station. There you need to plant this flower and set up irrigation systems. As a reward, you get an indoor sample of the same plant that will constantly generate oxygen on your ship. You will receive an additional cash reward and a poster for fixing the oxygen leak. The broken generation task partially speaks for itself. The fuel production station has malfunctioned and stopped working. Upon arrival, you will need to distribute the fuel supply and start the generators. If done correctly, your ship will be fully refueled. As a reward for completing this task, you will have a fuel generator on your ship. For now, the last random task is Clean Energy. It's as simple as it gets. You have to clean the solar panels of a solar station, and then point them in the direction of the best energy generation. If done correctly, your ship is charged and you get a solar panel for your ship. Also, I plan to add the temperature controller upgrade related task, but I didn't come up with the plot for it, and I will definitely add some random aspect to all of these quests. They will not be random generated, but each player will have their own stations, alignment, and conditions inside. I haven't decided yet how to implement alternative ways to earn money, so once you've completed all the tasks and found all the stashes, there's really no room for improvement. By the way, I also added collectibles throughout the map that give you cash rewards. At this point, you're as ready as possible to complete the main task. I think I've told you all the main points, and I think you now understand the direction my game is taking. Now for the future. For everything I've told you may be cool, but it obviously needs to be finalized, tested, and corrected. To be more specific, first of all, I need to finalize the gameplay customization and settings system. It seems like a minor thing, but it will take some time. I also need to add a save save system. This is a key feature. Without it, the player will leave the game after the first death. Next, I need to properly adjust this system to my game world, which I will remind you moves instead of a ship. The save system will take a lot of time to implement. I made a mock-up of all the tasks described, but now I'll need to think about all the possible things the player will be able to do. For example, will they complete the task before taking it, or will they just throw the quest item in the trash can? Additionally, I need to complete a temporary epilogue so that the whole story has a sense of closure. I also want to add a console to make testing the game much easier. In general, as you can imagine, I need to prepare the created environment for the player to interact with it, to improve the quality of the life moments. In the end, I am satisfied with the state of the game as it is now. I'm going to take a short break and then I'll try to release it to the public as soon as possible.